Well, newly minted presidential candidate Michael Bloomberg has devoted much of his life to gun control. As the mayor of New York City, Bloomberg famously backed the so-called stop and frisk program. That program allowed police to search for illegal guns. They found a lot of them, by the way. Bloomberg considered that program a success. He bragged about it often, including here in 2013.
Today, we have fewer guns, fewer shootings, and fewer homicides. In fact, murders are 50% below the level they were 12 years ago when we came into office, something no one thought possible back then. And there is just no question that Stop, Question, Frisk has saved countless lives. And we know that most of those lives saved, based on the statistics, have been black and Hispanic young men.
So there's really not a lot of evidence that gun control programs have worked ever anywhere. Really the only exception is stop and frisk, which has been in New York for quite some time, and certainly accompanied and probably caused the massive drop in crime you saw in that city. So you'd think that stop and frisk would be popular with the left. Democrats have been more aggressive than ever in their gun control efforts. They're now promising to take your guns and enact mandatory buybacks for weapons of war. Well, again, stop and frisk is really the only measure that's ever been proven to get so-called weapons of war off the street before they kill people. So Democrats would support it, right? No. They hate it. Why? Because it's racist, of course.
This is a policy that overwhelmingly put black boys, black men, and Latino men in prison, which was seen as a civil rights violation.
This is a mayor that provided over an administration that stopped and frisked every black, Latino, and poor person that they could.
This is a man who actually ran New York City kind of like an oligarch, and ultimately supported and defended a stop and frisk policy that essentially mass incarcerated black and brown people.
I have 3 words: stop and frisk. That will be the thing that will be the problem for Michael Bloomberg.
He still defends his policy of stop and frisk, which impacted families like mine. It was my cousins and my friends that were stopped on the New York City subway system and racially profiled and patted down.
So to straighten things out for us, because this is getting a little confusing, we're joined by former Clinton pollster Bernard Whitman. Bernard, thanks so much for coming on. So I thought we were for, all good liberals, we were for gun control. I keep hearing that. But the one gun control program that's worked, backed by a liberal, Michael Bloomberg, we're now against. What do you make of this?
Well, there's no question that Michael Bloomberg has done an extraordinary amount to get guns off the streets in America. He has invested tens of millions of dollars, most recently in Virginia, to flip both those, the state legislature blue and enact gun control legislation.
He didn't take guns off the street.
In the NRA's
flipped the
backyard.
Legislature. Okay, so
yeah, I think it's going to ultimately lead to gun safety laws in Virginia, in the backyard of the NRA.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to flip. We had a gun safety law. We had the only effective gun control law I've ever seen. Ask any criminologist. I wrote a whole book on this once. I'm not pulling this out of nowhere. Stop and frisk actually worked. And everyone's against it now, but I thought they're for gun control because they want to make the streets safer.
Well,
so, like, how do you square this? I'm honestly confused.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that he's going to face tremendous opposition from African Americans, from progressives, from Latinos, because the policy, without a doubt, disproportionately affected communities of color. At the end of the day, his intention was right, his head was in the right place, his heart was in the right place, get guns off the street, save lives, and help to end gun violence. The problem is stop and frisk disproportionately wound up locking up tens of thousands.
But I'm just wait a second. Are you saying? Hold on. Are you saying that it didn't take guns, illegal guns, from, for example, gang members in New York?
I do believe it did take illegal guns from gang members in New York. But the criticism is that the number of guns taken was small compared with the tens of thousands of people who were sort of caught up in the system. And ultimately, it led to tens of thousands of young black and brown, typically men, being incarcerated for sort of nonviolent crimes like marijuana possession or coming under suspicion of police activity, which can wreak havoc on communities and havoc on people's lives.
How many men? Wait, hold on. Everyone's throwing this out. Do you know the numbers? So were there actually a lot of men in New York City who were incarcerated for marijuana possession because of stop and frisk? No, there weren't. No, there weren't.
There's been dozens and dozens of reports written about this issue. It's not BS, Tucker.
It is BS. It is BS. No, then what's the number? How many?
I don't know the number offhand, but it's tens of thousands of people, and hundreds of thousands of people were ultimately stopped and frisked and put into a database. I mean, it was
put in the database. Oh, but it's totally okay to go door to door and take people's rifles away at gunpoint.
I don't agree with that.
Oh, you don't agree with that?
I don't agree with mandatory buybacks, no.
Well, I don't know. You had, I think the majority of the frontrunners for the Democratic nomination say that they were for it, mandatory gun buybacks.
Well,
that's okay.
The key proponent of that was Beto O'Rourke, who's no longer running for president.
He was he was the most famous, the dumbest, right? He's the one who said it most baldly, but the rest of them were asked, are you for mandatory buybacks? And I think the majority of them said yes. And that would include Joe Biden. So, who's supposed to be moderate, that's okay, but it's not okay to take illegal guns off the street because why?
I think the record of stop and frisk is quite mixed. I think that there are many people who believe that it disproportionately targeted young black men, young Latino men, and ultimately, because of being caught up in the judicial system, placed under police suspicion, it ultimately caused a lot of harm and damage to people's lives.
Okay, but let me just say the stat.
A lot of people believe
I just want to state this for the record, since this is a fact-based show. The line about how thousands of young people were put in prison for weed possession is a lie. That's not true. Stop and frisk did not have that effect.
Well,
there were thousands of people busted for illegal guns. So let me just ask you, does this make you rethink the other Democratic gun control proposals out there, like mandatory gun buybacks? If we can't even get behind stop and frisk, are we really for criminalizing?
You're seeing a moral equivalency that doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't believe in mandatory buybacks. I don't believe in mandatory buybacks, but I do believe in things like red flag laws. I do believe in things like not allowing people who are convicted of hate crimes to have guns. I do believe in things like limiting the size of magazines. I do believe in things like
limiting the size of magazines. Hold on, wait. None of that. Hold on. Let's get very specific, very fast. Limiting the size of magazines. So in D.C., for example, it's 10 rounds is maximum. It's a felony to have a mag with more than 10, a capacity more than 10 rounds. Would you be in favor of sending someone to jail for having a magazine with the capacity for 11 rounds in it? Yes, I guess, right? Right.
Depends what the law is.
But that is the law. That is the law in D.C., for example, where I'm sitting right now.
Then it would be illegal.
But you're not okay with stopping someone who's got a gun visible on the street and taking the gun away?
I think any sane person, if someone has a gun visible on the street,
well, that's what it is.
Does not have a concealed carry law, they should be arrested, absolutely.
Okay, so you are for stop and frisk.
Hundreds of thousands of people were stopped indiscriminately. That's the problem.
And millions went away for having a joint, and they were executed. I mean, it's just all a lie.
No, they weren't executed, but being caught up in the legal system, particularly at a young age.
Look, if we're against carrying illegal guns, let's go ahead and be against carrying illegal guns. Okay? And let's just not the one program that actually works, we call it racist. We're like, well, we're not for that. Okay, I thought we were all for gun control here.
The implementation had unintended consequences that a lot of people do consider racial profiling.
Oh, unintended consequences. Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, there might be a few of those if you try to, criminalize an AR-15 or other deer rifles.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah. Mr. Whitman, thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.